In this video today, I'm going to talk to you about my recent experience shooting with the new Nikon ZR cinema camera. I had the opportunity to take this camera down to Costa Rica to really push it, try it out in a tough environment. I wanted to see what it can do. And real quick off the bat, if you don't know a lot about me, I have been a professional wildlife photographer and videographer for some time now. I personally shoot on Canon cameras as well as a Red Dragon. I've shot for Nat Geo, several Netflix series, BBC and a David Attenborough series, Apple TV, Smithsonian Channel. I've been in Wildcrats. I've definitely been in a lot of different TV shows. I have a lot of experience shooting wildlife video at this point. With that said, I want to talk to you about my experience shooting with this camera, who I think it's for, the plus, the minuses of this camera, the drawbacks, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to get overly technical. I just want to talk about real world experience from my personal opinion, and let's go from there. The very first thing right off the bat, the reason you're buying this camera is the new R3D NE codec. The colors in this camera, just phenomenal. I mean, any R3D codec is gonna just produce amazing colors. And now I'll get into it later. This is not a true red R3D, but it is very, very good. No questions with no issues with the colors whatsoever. And with it not being a true red camera, that leads me to my next thing that I really like about it, and that's just the size. I was able to shoot this camera just as is, like this, with no monitors, no external batteries, nothing extra. I didn't even take my fluid head down. I took my fluid gimbal hybrid head because I didn't want to travel with my big Cartoni, which is like 20 some pounds. So I just brought my Gitzo fluid head on my Pro Media Gear tripod, and it was really nice to be able to shoot what I would consider professional cinema video on a small form factor camera like this. This is one of the extreme strengths of this camera. If you are not in a position where you want to take a cinema camera anywhere, which is a nightmare to travel with, that's where this camera also comes in handy. It fits in your pocket. It's so small. So huge plus there for the size of this camera. And while we're discussing size, as I mentioned, I didn't have to take an external monitor with this camera. I actually did that on purpose. Even though they're not really that hard to travel with, I wanted to shoot with just the screen on this camera because I think that that's going to be another shooter that this camera is designed for. Somebody that doesn't want to fully rig it out, even though you can. This screen is just out of this world. This should be the new standard on every camera, every mirrorless camera, every cinema camera, you name it. It is awesome. I mean, it was really, really good. Even in Costa Rica in the bright sun, I never had an issue seeing the screen. And surprisingly, it was not a huge power sucker like I thought it was going to be. I don't know what kind of magic they did here to be able to have a screen this big that doesn't eat batteries as much as you would expect for it being such a small battery in there. I would shoot entire morning sessions on, actually, I should even tell you, I only brought one of the small, I forget what Nikon calls them. I'm a Canon shooter now. What is it? ENEL batteries or whatever they are, the small ones that the Z8 takes, same batteries. I only brought one of those and I got full sessions out of shooting with this camera with just that one battery. And while I'm talking about things that should be standard in every camera, the 32-bit float option in this camera is amazing. Let's take a listen to some samples. Those clips were all filmed just with the in-camera mic, no external mic. Pretty amazing. All right, moving on to one of my pain points, the biggest pain point in this camera. Now, I'm gonna preface this by saying this is every cinema camera, but the autofocus is pretty bad. You know, like here, I'm telling it, get the frog. Come on, get the frog. Nope, we're just gonna chill on this leaf over here. We're just gonna ignore the frog. So, God, it was frustrating. But weirdly enough, it worked pretty well on birds as long as it was a clean setting. You know, single bird, you know, if there were multiple birds, it would start to jump. But, you know, single subject, clean setting, it did pretty well. It was usable. It was certainly usable. Now, don't rip my head off again. This is virtually every cinema camera at this point. I don't expect it to be mirrorless autofocus. Yes, it's nice that it does have usable autofocus. However, if I was in a crucial situation where it's high pressure, I cannot afford to miss this shot, I am not trusting the autofocus in this camera to hit it. All right, so on to my next pain point with this camera. This was incredibly frustrating because I was not aware of this until I left, but I'm using what I would consider high-end CF Express B cards, SanDisk Extreme Pros. I had one cinema card, one pro grade, and none of them could really handle the R3D. They would all cut off my recording after about 13 to 15 seconds. So really be aware. I think somewhere Nikon has a list of what they call their, like recommended cards that can handle it. I see no reason why my card shouldn't have been able to handle that, but you're definitely gonna need to upgrade your CF Express B cards if you don't already have super fast write speeds, because this is an issue. I missed a couple clips because it cut off on me. But also, so one of my biggest frustrations as a cinematographer, you know, videographer, whatever you want to call it, challenges, is I'm still a photographer at heart. So it was super nice to have a cinema camera that can also take pictures. Here's just a couple photos that I took. I didn't take a lot, but the image quality is very good, very clean. You know, it's nice in a pinch where you really want to get that shot. As far as startup time, it's instant. Again, comparing this to my Red camera, which takes like 20 seconds to start up. There's no black shading. You don't need to do any calibrating. Also awesome, because I can't stand doing that. All right, let's talk about file sizes. Shooting in R3D RAW, as you can see here, this was a 6K clip, I think 60 frames a second. It was a 40-second clip. That's gonna bring you in around 20 gigabytes. So get ready to buy hard drives, and lots of them if you're gonna have a Red camera or a Nikon camera with Red capabilities. Either way, not an easy task to store all these files. All right, so at the time of recording this, I wanna talk a little bit about color grading. Adobe Premiere does not recognize the new codec yet, so I had to use the Premiere Pro Beta. So when you bring in a raw clip, as you can see, it's pretty flat. It's very uninspiring. But if you go into your settings in the Lumetri color panel and then settings under project, you can, let me back up here real quick because I clicked out of it for some reason. When you go into the settings tab here, you can click this color manage, auto detect log and raw media, and that's gonna get you back to pretty close to where you should be. It's a really good starting point. And from there, it's just some simple temperature adjustments, usually. And then I'm gonna just throw on a quick curve and a little bit of sharpening. And just like that, we went from a super flat, uninspiring clip to a very bright, vivid, colorful clip. Pretty easy when you do it that way. I'm sure DaVinci and Final Cut probably have a similar process. I personally use Premiere, but anyway. So one of the other benefits of shooting Red RAW, which this camera, I was curious if this was gonna have it, is nice because you can change the ISO after the fact. And so if you don't expose properly, you can go back in after the fact, change your ISO. You know, you can adjust whatever you need to adjust here. And I'm just gonna, I personally, I do a lot of curves instead of contrast. I like the curve adjustment for colors. You know, it just brings those blacks down, the whites up, whatever. Again, that's not perfect, I'm just doing it fast. But Okay, so let's talk quick about this. Again, this is a 6K clip. Native ISO in this camera is 800, even though you can shoot lower, but man, that's clean. Look at that. I'm zooming in well over 200% here, and that is a very, very clean image at 800 ISO. Really impressed there. Now, what I did find with the next native ISO being 6400 ISO, the further away you got from 800, but still under 6400, it did become pretty noisy. It took, a lot of cleaning up. So I tried to stay as close to 800 as I could. Once I started getting up above like 1600 ISO, it was almost better just to wait it out and jump all the way to 6400. All right, so next thing, maybe this is a user error thing, but as far as I can tell, if you have a 3D LUT on, or with your view assist, you cannot see the focus peaking. So that was a struggle for me because I like to shoot with the 3D LUT engaged so I could see where I'm exposing a little bit better. But when you switch over to manual focus, you couldn't see the focus peaking. So you can see when I went back, the focus peaking is there when I turn off the 3D LUT. All right, so let's sum up here and give you my final thoughts. This video is already longer than I wanted this to be, although I do have a lot of stuff I want to say about it. So let's start with, who do I think this camera is for? I think this camera is a perfect, unbelievable opportunity for somebody that truly wants to get into the cinema world. You want to shoot on a red, can't afford a red body. This gets you in the door. You're going to learn how to expose. You're going to learn how to edit. Manual focus, most likely. A lot of the things you're going to do on any cinema camera, this is a great starting point. And besides that, it's also a great secondary camera. Dare I even say maybe a primary camera, depending on your use. Now, I shoot a lot for high-end commercial projects, but these days they're even buying a lot of footage that I'm shooting in my mirrorless camera. So I think that gap has closed drastically compared to what it used to be back in the old days versus cinema cameras versus, back when it was DSLRs that didn't shoot video or shot very crappy video. So yes, I think you could shoot professional video on this camera without a doubt, no question in my mind. Is it going to replace a red? At this point, no. Now, why do I say that? You're not getting 16-bit color. You're not getting the same dynamic range with this, I take it for what it's worth, lower end sensor. I'm not saying it's crappy by any means, but it's certainly not a red sensor. What I love about this is it's super, super inspiring that they're putting this into Nikon cameras. If they start to roll this out into, let's say, like a Z9 II or something like that has a better sensor, man, that could be really awesome. What I wonder is how much they're really going to give us, though, because that's going to kill their red line if they give you too much. What would I like to see in this camera? I would like to see more red features like the goalposts, traffic lights, things like that. Maybe more external buttons. I don't like menu-driven settings where I have to go to the menu constantly. And a lot of the settings are two-step where even to change the ISO on the screen, you have to change the ISO and then hit OK. I can't stand that. Like, just change the ISO when I change it. Little things like that. Again, I'd like to see the better sensor going forward. This camera doesn't have open gate. That's the big buzzword these days. I really don't give a crap about that. I'm not an open gate user, really. That does not bother me in any way. What I like about this camera, again, it gets you in the door shooting red. That's an awesome opportunity that I wish I would have had 5-10 years ago. The battery life is really good for what it is. You don't have to rig this camera if you don't want to. You can shoot with it as a pocket camera, which makes it incredibly easy to travel with. So again, a lot of great things for this being the first generation of a Nikon cinema camera. I think there's a lot of great things to come, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the future. And I hope this gave you some kind of overview of what you think if you're thinking about buying this. My recommendation at this point, what I would say is if you don't plan to shoot in Red RAW and you already have a mirrorless camera, there is zero reason to buy this camera. If you're gonna shoot in Red RAW, even if you have a Z9 or something like that, buy this camera because it's great. The Red RAW is what it is. You know, it's where it's at. I mean, you want that R3D. It's legendary for a reason. Even though that this is a stripped down version, it's still very, very good. And for $2,000, I mean, that's a steal. So those are my thoughts. Hope you liked the video. I kind of rushed through this, even though it's over 15 minutes long. The last thing I'll say is if you do plan to buy this camera, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it if you would use the affiliate links down below. It really helps me out a lot. And thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks again. Bye.